And it looks like we are live again.
Oh, jolly good. Hello, folks. It's Tuesday again. Would you believe?
I know. It rolls around.
Doesn't it just? Yes. So, Ruth, tell the folks about today.
Well, you all know, our regular viewers know that I am absolutely passionate about chefs and food. I'm such a big foodie. Well, big and getting wider foodie. And today we are honored because he's so busy, and you'll learn why. We are absolutely thrilled to have one of my favorite chefs, a rising star in the culinary world, from Houston, Texas. If you haven't been yet, it's in the Westheimer and Sage corner of the Houston Galleria. It's a restaurant upstairs called Musaafer, which means traveler. And it is like a museum. It's worth going for the decor alone that Shami and Mitu, the owners, have curated and brought art in from all over the world. And one fabulous piece of art that they have brought in from all over the world, from India, from the Himalayas, I'll try and pronounce it correctly, is, and the crowd goes wild, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chef Mayank Istwal.
Hello. Good morning, Chef.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's good afternoon for you, I think.
Yeah.
It was a great introduction. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's so amazing to be on the show.
Oh, good.
My pleasure.
We're thrilled. So
Yeah.
we met through Graham and G from Street to Kitchen. And I met them through David Skinner of Eculent, soon to be Ishtia. So the Houston food scene is really kind of like a big family, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's a melting pot. And, there's so many different restaurants here, so many different kind of culture.
Yeah.
So, I share a very good relationship with the Chef G and Graham. They're some amazing people. We did a collab together. And this is how we met you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So start with
Yes,
that one. I
okay,
want
now-
her to start today.
Yes, okay. Now, my first question is, you were born in the mountains of India, right?
Yes.
And what was your first memory of, foraging and discovering the rich ingredients of the Himalayas?
Correct.
So I still remember it's so fresh in my head. And actually, this is the time. It was the spring season.
Mhm.
I remember it, and it was with my grandfather. He was a doctor in the allopathy, and then after his retirement, he started practicing Ayurvedic medicine, and he had his own dispensary where he used to test everything. And he told me, and I was his favorite grandson, I still remember. He told me, why don't you come with me for foraging? We're going to forage some morel mushrooms. So the morels are like a very peculiar kind of mushrooms, very popular in the mountains in the Himalayas. And he told me, why don't we go together? And, it was a beautiful process. I still remember I was hanging a bag, and he had 2 bags because he knew that he's going to forage a lot of mushrooms today. So the idea is because it's only after when the snow is melting, you still have the dried leaves, and then the spring is coming. So you will see little, just like the microgreens coming up, like little greens. So he used to tell me, wherever you see the cluster of greens, in this dry leaves, you will know there is a morel there. I said, wow, okay. So I still remember we were going, it was already like 1 hour up the hill. And then he said, oh, now we are in the dense forest, and now you'll start seeing the morels. And he was absolutely right. And we spotted the morels where there were some, green plants coming out. I said, oh my God, these are the morels. And we started. So that was still is so fresh. I also created a dish out of it at the restaurant. I made a morel farm. That's what I call it. It was back in 2021 for my spring menu. So we had like a soil, like a dry leaves on top, little greens, and then the morels popping out from that, just to create my nostalgia, recreate my memories. And of course it's my grandfather's memory with me.
Yes.
So that's first.
How old would you have been when that memory was created, Chef?
I was 11 years old at that point of time.
Wow.
So I was 11. Yes, I still remember. It was spring. Yeah, it's the time of the year, actually.
And that was, were you previously interested in cooking with what you had foraged, or was that the beginning of your ingredient journey. Guys, this guy is like an encyclopedia. Ask him anything about any ingredient. He should be a category in Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Was that when you became interested in actually preparing what you'd found?
So I'll tell you a little. I'll take you a little back. When I was 8 years old, my father and my uncle had a catering business. I used to study in a boarding school in India, like in Dehradun. That's on the foothills of the Himalayas. And I had a privilege because it was winters there and it was very cold. So we used to have like winter vacation and summer vacation. So all my vacation and summer vacation was always around food because I was thrown into the kitchen in the beginning. I used to hate it in the beginning, to be very frank. I never used to like it. You know, started liking it maybe when I was like 11 or 12. That was the age when I started liking it. And oh my God, it's very weird. Like I used to love fire somehow. I don't know why. I know a lot of people. I used to love fire. I used to love the environment in the kitchen, So this is how it all started. And of course, whatever you used to forage, right? It was my grandfather who was cooking. He used to love cooking too. So it started with him and my grandmother. Oh my God, such a brilliant cook. She's still alive. I just saw her when I was back in India on my trip. She's turned 90, and I'm so glad. Like she still cooked one dish for me. So yeah, she's a sweetheart.
That's great. So now, what part of India did you grow up in? I know we'll talk about Dehradun in a little bit, but so in the north, obviously, what was your region known for? Like, what would be its most famous dish that's traveled abroad and is famous now?
Oh, the dishes. Oh, wow. So actually, there are a lot of dishes that never got very popular, though. It's still there because in the small communities, they still cook these dishes, right? But you know what I did? I definitely made sure that I'll be the brand ambassador and I'm going to like bring it to the world stage. And that's what I did. I did. So we had a lentil donut that we used to make. We call it like dal pakoda. It's like a round in shape, and it comes with the bhang chutney. That is a hemp seed chutney. Because
You're
hemp is
making me hungry.
yes. So it's a hemp chip chutney with the tomatoes. It's a very umami taste in it. The glutamate kicks in, like when you fire roast it. So it's a brilliant chutney that you have to dip the donuts in it, and that's the way to eat it. So I did that at the restaurant. I also did a chila that is like a pancake made out of the squash blossoms. Again, it's a very popular dish in our cuisine, like where I come from. So it's basically the lentil batter, and it has like onions and tomatoes for the nice freshness in it. And then I dreamed about this dish in my like so I do a lot of dreaming in the morning, early morning dreams, and I'm to reality. I come back in the kitchen, I don't talk to anybody else. I put up my apron, like all my kitchen knives and everything, so that I'll start cooking that dish. So it looked like a fossil on the pancake, with when you put those leaves on top of the pancake, it looks like a fossil. This is what how I dreamed of, and it came alive just like that. And then what I did, I use every single part of the plant. So we use the dust of the leaves of the pumpkin, right? And the fruit itself was that was filled inside the flour, and we made a fritter out of it.
Oh, nice.
Seeds of the seeds of the pumpkin itself. We made a chutney and a crumble out of it. So it was so much happening. So in our cuisine, where I come from, we use every single part of the plant.
Wow, that's amazing. When we were in Houston recently with you guys. You were talking about the different, the Ayurvedic parts of the spices, the warm spice, the cooling spice, how it goes with certain times of the year and certain ailments and your body temperature to cool you down or whatever. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So I'll give you a little brief about Ayurveda itself. It is one of the ancient medicine known to the mankind. Even the homeopathy takes its roots from Ayurveda. When they were developing homeopathy, they first read all the Ayurveda medicine, the plant-based medicine, and then they developed homeopathy. So the idea is in this specific medicine. So it's all plant based, as I said. They use the roots of the plant, they use certain spices, they use the bark of the tree, the flowers, everything is used to create medicine. So so what I did, when I was growing up, I was learning all this from my grandfather, and I was very much interested in cooking. So I was working with the spices, all the time. Then I still remember, I think the striking part was when my mother made me a masala chai one day. She
Mhm.
made me a chai, and the chai, it is a religion now in India. And, like, of course, it was introduced by the Britishers in like 1800s, and then now it's every household. Tea is the most popular drink. Like every morning, they cannot start their day without tea. So tea is
Yep.
so in India. So my mom made me a tea, and it was the summers, and she made this tea with the warming spices. And
Yeah.
oh, I did not like the tea. I told my mom, the chai does not taste the same, how I used to have it in the winters. She said, I did not change my recipe. It's the same recipe. It
Wow.
is, it is with the same spices. But I said, but the weather is changing. So I
Yeah.
think that was the striking point. And then I said, oh God, I need to invest in this. I need to work really hard to learn more about spices, their nature. So
Yeah.
then I realized every spice has its own nature, right?
Wow.
It's cooling, warming, digestive, immunity boosting. So summers is all about the cooling spices. So I told my mom, why don't you make a chai with the cooling spices like fennel
Yep.
seed, or green cardamom,
Yep.
or put some mint. They put some mint leaves in it. Like, of course, it's all about senses. When you smell the tea, you're
Yep.
already smelling mint. So your brain is already trained. Oh, yeah, it's refreshing, right? And when you taste the tea, it's with cooling spices. It's very good for your system. I said,
Yep.
can't why can't we change our spice pot with the season? Of course, the produce is changing with the season. The spices should change with the season too. So
Yeah.
that was the starting point, and then I never looked back. So I made my spice blends according to the dishes. So you will always hear this problem in the restaurant industry, that people say, oh, I don't know that, I think the chef has changed, the food doesn't taste the same. When we were there, like, summers here, it was great. Now we're in winters, the food doesn't taste the same. The recipe is the same. Is the weather that is changing? You need to change with the weather. You need to change your spices. You need to change the recipe.
Of course.
That's what I do in the. I found this. This is my trade secret. Yeah, I always tell people, you need to change the spice box with the season. Change it. Change the recipe, because the weather is changing. It's so hot outside. You need
Right.
to put in
Cool down.
some spices in your food. Do that. So
Yeah. That's
Mm,
that's
and it's,
fascinating.
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me like it would be obvious to people, but when you get set in your ways, or busy people buy prepared foods from factories and these horrible frozen things that are all called convenience, but at the end of the day they're killing us. You get used to just the same recipe year round. But when you think about the American traditions, Thanksgiving, we change the recipe. We have pumpkin, we have orange food, we have gamey birds and meats and things. It only makes perfect sense. But why we don't do it more often? But that's why you change your menu regularly. And
Yeah.
on April 25th, you're doing a spring soiree outdoors at Blackwood Farms, right? Tell us about that.
So, it was a long time idea to do our spring menu launch. When I first came in Houston in 2017, I saw there were some amazing farmers markets, and this concept was coming up big time. And then I always used to think that spring is the best time in Houston. I know, the weather in Houston.
Yeah.
It gets really hot sometimes. So if you want to do something outdoors, I think spring is the best time to do it.
Yeah.
And when we met this amazing chef Cade from Blackwood Farm, he was a chef before,
Okay.
uh, and now he is so much involved in the entire process of like growing all these vegetables and foraging in the woods all around in the area where he lives. So it's the farm is in Hempstead. You go 290 north. And, it's amazing. The Blackwood Farm itself, they grow such amazing. So this is the weather. this is the time of the year when they cultivate a lot of chilies and
Oh,
so many different chilies. Tomatoes, you will see it's flooded with tomatoes.
Oh,
Lot of green vegetables that we see. They also have like Malabar spinach that comes from southern India.
wow.
So yes, a lot of Malabar spinach there from the Malabar coast, and the guy has done an amazing job in terms of bringing so many different kind of vegetables and leaves and plants everywhere. And then it's a lot of berry season. You will find so many beautiful berries at that point of time. And like then I do go foraging for the dewberries that is so popular in Houston, and these are delicious.
Wow.
And time of year, so we will be using like some of the forage ingredients and some ingredients from the farm itself. And
Yep.
it's like a traditional dinner. So the people come in 5 o'clock, and their cars for valet, and then they go to one location of the farm where you like savor the bottle of champagne, right? And there are like the chefs serving you the berry tart.
mm,
Berry tarts are like all the picked berries in the morning, and then we go foraging. We bring this all this. It's a mixture of everything, and you pop these uh, amuse bouche like a berry tart and paired with nice champagne, and
Right.
then we take you to another location at the farm where the food is being camouflaged in the fields itself.
Ah,
So, so you don't know you are there, and there's a harp player in the background,
wow.
like
oh,
and it's all there, and then chefs will guide you. And when you open this box, it's like, oh my god, I was not expecting this. And then you have another course there. Then
Oh,
we take you to another location at the farm, where we are like, there's a grill on. We are doing the zucchinis, fresh zucchinis from the farm with three different kind of chutneys on top. You enjoy that. Then there's a very old pizza oven that is a very traditional pizza oven, the stone oven. So we'll be doing like Indian flatbreads from there. That is
right.
another course. And all these three courses are paired with nice cocktails by our beverage director Afzal. He's making some amazing cocktails.
Yes.
He's using a lot of produce from the farm. And after that, we take you to the last location, the finale, that is near the lake. There's a
Oh,
lake at the farm, and
gorgeous.
it's all white theme, and we want you to like sit down and enjoy the six course paired with wine. And then we
Wow.
have the fire dancers, we live DJ mixing, and like imagine like kind of setting in the middle of nowhere. Like it's so can't get better. Like
Is the menu, you've talked a lot about nuts and seeds and berries and fruits and vegetables. Is there any meat or seafood or
oh yes, we are definitely doing a non-vegetarian tasting and a vegetarian tasting.
okay? Because I saw last year the video. If you check both of our socials,
Oh yes.
the video that Radon did is great because it shows the whole sort of gamut. I think you had smash burgers last year, didn't you?
Oh yes, we had that. So this year we are doing the flatbreads, we're doing the grilled zucchinis, and
Beautiful.
then also are doing like a ceviche that the dish that I talked about, a little camouflage in the berry farm. So it'll be like a crazy, crazy,
You know,
and it was
it's
from the.
it sounds like it could be called the magical culinary tour. Never mind the mystery tour.
You can say that absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yes.
And that's coming up on the 25th, right? So we can learn more at musaaferhouston.com. That should be going across our bottom screen there.
Good.
Yeah, so speaking of Musaafer,
Yeah, well, what I wanted to ask you was, in preparation for you opening Musaafer, you're the executive chef there, I believe, yes?
Yes.
And didn't you travel to 29 regions, was it, in India?
in 100 days.
In 100 days. How did you have a particular favorite from that trip?
Oh my God, it is so hard to pick a favorite, right? Because
Yeah.
it's so diverse.
Yeah.
So the idea, the inception was, we definitely wanted to give this name Musaafer, but why Musaafer? It means a traveler.
Yes.
So the idea was to capture the culinary culture of the entire country. It's so hard to find a restaurant abroad that celebrates all 29 states under one roof. So that was idea. Generally, you'll find it in a Northern Indian cuisine restaurant or a Southern Indian cuisine restaurant. These are the two most popular ones. So it's so hard to find a restaurant that celebrates all 29 states. So
Oh,
that was our endeavor for sure. And it all started with that. Of course, it was Shammi and Mithu's vision as well, the owners of the restaurant. And they were very kind. The moment I pitched this idea, they said, "Oh my God, this is a brilliant idea. We should definitely invest." So this is how it all started. Um, then I started with the Southern India because Southern India is very critical in terms of history. Because Kerala, the Malabar coast, that is a state called Kerala, the western coastal belt of India, is tip of that, where the black pepper comes from. So I definitely wanted to go to that region to start my journey. So there are, and I was so surprised when I went there. I was not expecting a lot, and then I was overwhelmed when I started because there are so many different cuisines right there. So we are talking about the Muslim traders who came in the 6th and the 7th century, and then they never left after that.
Yep.
They came spice trade, and this is how the Mapla cuisine came into the picture. Then the Jews came in for the trade, and the Jewish Keralite cuisine happened, and they never left. And then came in the Syrian Christians. Oh my God, that is again another cuisine right there. And of course, there is the Keralite cuisine, that is the Hindu community cuisine. That is other cuisine. So when I was like documenting all this, I said, "Oh my God, there's a lot happening in here." And there are so many amazing spice plantations. So the idea was to capture the food from these communities. So I was only cooking with the home cooks because I strongly believe in all these recipes are guarded, they're trade secrets. These are passed on from generation to generations, right? Nothing has been documented so far.
Wow.
It's basically the folklores, like they just, they just talk about these stories and what happened. So my idea was to document it and bring it all alive when we do this restaurant here in Houston. So then the spice plantation aspect of it. So we thought like sometimes whenever you use spices, like let's say sitting in America, when you open the box, you don't know what is the origin of this spice.
Right.
No.
So because for me, imagine when you put a spice in the sauce looks alive. So there are spirits in it. All these spices are spirits in it,
The
They are
spicy spirits. I love that.
Yeah.
they're spirits. So for me, I was thinking if I need to know these origins of these spices. So when uh, you know, talking to spice plantation people, we developed this relationship with them. We said, why don't you like start shipping us to Houston? So we definitely need these spices fresh, and we would know the origin of the spice. So these are all single origin spices. So that we got, sometimes whenever you buy spices from the spice, but these are all mixed up. You don't know the origins so, and I don't know how long it's been there. So sometimes lose it, it loses its essential aromas and oils due course of time, right?
Right.
So
Right.
idea to get the fresh spices every season. So when we change our menu, that was so the spices from the home cooks, spices from the spice plant people, and then more stories around because when I went to Maharashtra, again on the west coast near Goa, so I went with the fishermen deep in the Arabian Sea. We were gone for 1.5 days,
Wow.
and the idea was to fish and collect all these fishes. And then I realized, oh my God, it's a different process altogether.
Sure.
They will put the fishing net deep, like almost 80 meters deep in the sea, and they will pull the net on. Then,
I-
yes, they open it. Oh my God, there are so many different kind of fishes.
Really?
So yes, it is like the kingfish. Then they also had some mackerel there. Then we saw there a lot of crabs, some shrimps, and it's a beautiful process of segregating it. So then
Yeah.
you segregate it, right?
Right.
And
Interesting.
you put it in ice. When you come back, hot. And the
Wow.
fisherman, she used to own a small little eatery near the coast, and she cooked this amazing fish curry for us, and I loved that. So
Wow.
yes, go ahead.
When I think of Indian food, top of mind, I don't first think of fish.
No.
I usually order, vegetarian or vegan or lamb if I'm eating food. But it's amazing how religion and terroir has really shaped cuisines, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, as I said, there are 29 states. The topography of the country is so rich. We are surrounded by three oceanic bodies. So we have Arabian Sea on the west coast.
I
On
see.
the east coast, we have the Bay of Bengal. And then on the down south, we have Indian Ocean. So if you see, we have a very big coastal belt. And it's so rich in the fish culture. There are some specific fishes that you'll only find there. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the central part of India, down south, so we have the Deccan Plateau region. Plateau has its own charm. They have their own food habits, their own produce. Then you go, you drift a little left on the western part. So we have the desert, the dry region of India called Rajasthan, one of the states there, sandy, and they have their own produce there. Then you go up north, the Himalayas, the great Himalayan mountains. So it
Wow.
extends from the north to the northeast of India. Of course, it includes Nepal, Bhutan, all those places too. But it's a long stretch. And
Yeah.
then the Indo-Gangetic plains, the river Ganges, it flows from the Himalayas. It lands on the plain. Oh my God, the silt around it brings with it, and the soil is so fertile, because all these tributaries, the water from the tributaries is used for the cultivation of the basmati rice. So I come from that region. Dehradun is so popular for basmati. It's native to basmati rice. The first ever basmati rice was grown in Dehradun. In the
Wow.
foot.
Oh,
So I have a quick question from Diana. She's asking, what is your personal favorite dish? What's your comfort food go-to?
So it's a very simple dish called rajma chawal. So chawal is like a basmati rice, and rajma is basically the kidney beans.
Oh,
It's
nice.
cooked with tomatoes, and there's a little mango pickle on the side, and some salad. We call it kachumber salad. It's basically a mix of all the garden greens coming together with chaat masala and a squeeze of lime in it. So
nice.
that,
So you're right at home in Texas, rice and beans.
oh yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, I wanted to ask you about the wonderful movie with Dame Judi Dench. What was it?
Best exotic
Best
marigold.
Marigold. Didn't you have a connection there?
Oh yes, yes. So
You met with the film people.
yes, so I was working in Udaipur, the city of lakes. There are 22 lakes in and around the city. Beautiful city in Rajasthan. Whenever you think about Rajasthan, you always think, oh, it will be very dry. But that region, it's so green and so many lakes around, so many beautiful palaces in the city.
Yeah.
So I was also working at a palace hotel, the Lalit Lakshmi Vilas Palace, and it was the 18th century palace. And when I was working there, I was told that the crew from the best exotic marigold hotel, they are coming, and then they'll be staying with us for like 3 months. I said, oh wow. So you will be taking care of them personally. You will be their private chef. You will be taking their orders, because everybody, they have their own like dietary restrictions. Some people, they love specific things. I said, okay, why not? So this is how it all started. And believe me, Zuri Dench was so kind. Oh my God. I still remember when she first came in, she was the nicest person I ever know. And like, she has won so many BAFTA awards. Like, oh my God.
I
And I
know.
like, yeah, and then she's been given a tag as well, like an honor that I think Madame.
Oh yeah, title. She's Dame Judi
Dame.
Dench. Yes.
Dame.
Yes.
When I was told all this, I was like, oh my God. And I've seen her in the Bond movies all the time. I've
Yep.
Yes.
fan of Bond movies. So I said, my God, she's here in front of me. And like, she walks with me like hand in hand. I said, oh my God. This is
Really?
like, and she said, chef, why don't you show me the kitchen garden? Why don't you take me around to the entire resort? And I want to see the palace myself. I said, why not? Let's go.
Wow.
So all the vegetables in the kitchen garden, and she said, oh my God, you're growing all these vegetables from scratch, and I'm so glad that we made this choice to live here. And all her breakfast was a lot of greens in the morning. Of course, she used to love bean and toast.
Yeah. On toast. Yep.
Yes, that was her favorite. And then she used to drink chai. That's fascinating. And but she used to love her English breakfast tea. And she said, "Chef, whatever you make." So I made her drink masala chai, and she was in love with it.
Wow.
Uh, yes. And then we also had Richard Gere,
Right.
the from the Pretty Woman, of course, a popular actor. He
Sure.
was very much into. He used to never turn for breakfast. His thing was more lunch and dinner. Dinner was his main meal, and he's a Buddhist,
Right.
so he used to enjoy the naans, the chicken tikkas, the butter chicken. So all hearty meals. I still remember that was his favorite.
Wow.
And Bill Nighy, his
Bill
favorite was
Nye.
Nighy, yeah, his favorite was pastas. I said, "Oh my god!" And he said, and he complimented. He said, "I had the best pastas in my life cooked by you. I don't know how you do it. I've been to Italy. I've been everywhere all around the world, but the best pastas of my life are prepared by you. I don't know how you do that." So I
That's
used
Oh,
to,
amazing.
nice.
yes,
That's
every day.
amazing. Well, Indian food is truly, speaking of you being a global ambassador, it really is an ambassadorial role for the depth and greatness that is India. Our friend Charlie from Florida is saying he ate at a fantastic restaurant in Zimbabwe, which,
Wow.
that it just proves the popularity. And in fact, when Indian food came to England, it was largely to do with after the Beatles trip with the Maharishi to Rishikesh.
Yes.
And George Harrison fell madly in love with Indian food
Yes,
and
that's
was
right.
an early investor in a couple of restaurants in London.
Mm.
And on the road from your hometown to Rishikesh is a little town called Dehradun, correct?
Yes. So it's like just 20 kilometers. And I have my relatives who live there as well. So yeah, it's a beautiful town. It's a yoga capital of the world, Rishikesh.
Yes, and there's a song when people talk about the last Beatles single ever being released that they've just done it. I beg to differ because if you YouTube the town of Dehradun, you will find a George Harrison song that's never been released as a single, and I didn't even know that until Chef told me when we were
Really?
there in November. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a Beatle trivia connection
Mhm.
between us there.
Yeah.
How come you were talking about Bill Nye and pasta,
Yeah.
and because you've had so many 5-star highfalutin jobs all over the world, you were actually cooking in Italian food, like an Italian maestro,
Yes.
and it was an incident that happened there to you involving, sadly, racism that actually turned you into going back to honoring your home country's heritage and becoming the Indian master that you are now, right?
Yes. Absolutely, you're correct. Yes. So
What
it
happened?
yeah. So it happened. So I was so I was when I was in my college, right? I was so much into the Western food. So I definitely, like they teach you French cooking, Italian cooking, everything, right?
Yeah.
Went to Australia in 2010, and I was trained under a lot of great chefs. And then I picked up my Italian food and my French food, everything. And when I came back to India after a few years, I was working in Goa. It was a very popular, of course, it was a Portuguese colony for the longest time. And I was working there in a Taj group of hotels, and the restaurant name was El Camino. So I was heading that restaurant, and there are like in Goa, there are 55 restaurants, all Italian, beautiful restaurants, all owned by mostly the expats, all Italian chefs. And I remember 2 years in a row, we won the best Italian restaurant. I won the best Italian chef. I was competing against the Italian nationals, like great chefs, of course. And that was a big deal, like the training, everything worked. And I was so happy that, everything worked out for me. And then one fine day, it was Italian guest in his 70s. He walked into my restaurant. He loved the food. He was in tears, and he told the server, "I want to meet the chef, and I want to kiss his hands, because this reminds me of my mom, because she's no more." So I said, "Why not?" Then I walk into the restaurant. I meet this guy, and I saw his expression changing completely. He said, "Oh no, you did not cook this food. Maybe you are a chef." Like I don't believe it.
Mhm.
I said, "No, it's me. I cooked your meal." And he did not believe it. I tried to convince him. I told him, you can read all the articles online. I won awards for this restaurant. I am the face of the restaurant. But he did not. I said, oh my God, this is not done, in my own country. And then, when I was going back in the kitchen, there was a mirror. All the servers, they used to like, see this mirror before walking into the restaurant to groom themselves. I saw myself. I said, no, I'm a brown guy. Why am not cooking my own food? But what's happening to me? So what I did, I said, let me take a break. I went home to Dehradun. I locked myself in a room. And I remember my dad was so upset. He said, what's happening? He was talking to my mom. Why is he back home? He fought with me to chase his dream. And so I said, okay. He called my best friend. He told him that Mayank is back home. So my friend came in to meet me. He said, buddy, what's happening? Like, you were doing amazing. I was reading your articles. Yeah, you have achieved a lot. What's happening with you? And then what he said, let me take you on a little trip to Rishikesh. Let's go. So
Okay.
while we were driving to Rishikesh, he played the songs from the Beatles. Dera dera doon, dera doon doon, dera dera doon. That
How funny.
song by Beatles, and I don't know. Said yes, brother. They wrote a song on our city, Dera Dera Doon, and of course it was unreleased. You can always find it on YouTube. And then he took me to the Beatles ashram in Rishikesh. There's an ashram
Yeah.
where they used to meditate. They used to play sitar, and uh,
Yes.
they had such a great. They wrote a lot of songs there also.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There, right? It's an amazing trip. And then he said, imagine like the band like Beatles here at our place, and they meditated. They found themselves in a way that they made it so big, so big. They were already big, but they made so big after that. Imagine like the power in this place, and you were born here. So why? So this was my connection with the Beatles, and then my grandmother gave me a little journal that was by my grandfather about the Ayurvedic medicine that he was doing his research on. So this is how I started cooking my own food, and then I invented the Ayurvedic spice blend, the healthy spice blends, and then I never looked back after that.
Wonderful.
It's in a way, it was good that that guy was so rude to you
Yes.
by refusing
Oh
to believe
yes, oh
it
absolutely.
wasn't an Italian, because you might still be there chopping tomatoes and
Oh
calling
yes,
San Marzano, and
of course.
you might still be there instead of at Musaafer in Houston on your way to New York. I
Oh
know
no,
you guys are opening in New York, and you're now in a position to take over the world, where if that guy hadn't been such a horrible little racist, you might still be in a hotel kitchen in
That's
Goa.
right.
you are absolutely right. Like I always believe in everything happens for a
The
reason.
reason. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I in cosmos, the energy in the cosmos, because they will try to break you down in some way, but the reason why they're breaking you down like that is because they want you to rise and achieve something that is bigger, or for a bigger purpose. So
Yeah.
they want you to settle for little things. So that's what I strongly believe in that.
That's,
Yes.
I mean, again, it's when you get knocked down or you get off.
Yeah.
Our regular fans know John Lennon taught me how to ride a bicycle. And when I
Yeah.
think about now at the age that I am, what a metaphor that is. Every time I fell off,
Yeah.
I would get back on and keep riding. And
Yeah.
every time life kicks you in the nuts, you just get back up and keep going, and bigger and better, right?
No, absolutely. You're right. Yeah, I believe in that.
Yeah.
So you were talking a little bit about your dream time this morning in the mornings when you meditate. Is that how you came up with this Circle of Life Mother's Day menu that you guys are doing in May?
Yes. So, I was like every year, whenever I finish my Mother's Day dinner, I always think like what I'm going to do again
Mhm.
next year. So my morning routines are like I meditate in the morning, and meditation is all about like uh, forgiving, but like everything, if you have bad thoughts or like anything that you forgive in the morning, you start with forgiveness on your
Oh,
energy.
okay. You popped off. You're back. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I lost your connection. You're
No.
back.
Yeah. So when I focus on my energy in the morning, so the idea is you have to leave your thoughts behind, and you have to go thoughtless. And like you start with a little point, this it only occurs for a nanosecond, right? And you increase this thoughtlessness, like space, you have to increase the space. So it's a beautiful process. And whenever you increase this thoughtlessness, the space of the thought, then you see some amazing things in the universe. And then you dream of. So I was thinking about the Mother's Day. So when I slept that night, I remember it was with a lot of thoughts in my head. I was not able to like figure it out, like what I'm going to do next year. So I was thinking about it. And then in the morning, because in the night you have so many thoughts, you're bombarded with thoughts, and you sleep, you knock off. But you wake up in the morning, you are like, like giving away all the thoughts. And then when you're thoughtless, then I came up with this idea of a girl, right, who enjoys her mother cooking while she was like growing up. Then she becomes a mother herself,
Yeah.
right? And then she gives, birth to a girl child, and then they complete the full circle of life,
Right.
right? It's between like it's just like three generation we are talking about: the girl, the
Yeah.
mother, grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you said before, when you went home to India this past break, your 90-year-old grandmother cooked one of your favorite dishes for you. It's a generational thing, and especially on Mother's Day, I think it's important to
Yes,
honor the women of the world who don't always get all the glory, but we work just as hard in most cases. And I
that is
think it's beautiful that you're doing that.
yes. It's like a full circle of motherhood, and there's some amazing dishes in there. It's like the childhood nostalgia that you talk about, while growing up, and when you get more matured, so your palate is like more. So you try to enjoy different cuisines, right? So we are also doing some. We're bringing two cuisines together to create some of the dishes. So and then about the desserts, we are doing something crazy where we showcase the full circle in which it's discovered in different layers of the cake. That is again, when you cut it, and there's so many layers, and every layer means something. So
Wow.
we showcase three stages of motherhood.
I
It's
have I
amazing.
have a couple of questions from the family here. Elizabeth in New York is asking, do you have a book yet about spices for beginners?
Also, I am working on one. It's been like 3 years. Definitely, I've been talking to the Penguin, the publishers as well. So once I have it ready, definitely the book will be released, and it'll be so much, and it'll be very simple. I'll not make it like super scientific. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh my God, all these medicinal books are like so complicated." I'll make it very simple for any layman. They can try it. So I'll make it very, very simple for the common to that.
Good.
She's also asking, what is the most expensive spice? I would guess saffron, but I may be wrong. And
No,
why is it so expensive?
so there are three spices that I always talk about in terms of weight, in terms of how rare they are. So if you talk about the rare spice and looking at the window of cultivation of the spice, I would say saffron is the most expensive spice, because I'll tell you how saffron is cultivated.
Yeah.
So it grows in Kashmir, the northern part of India. Of course, it grows in Spain as well, and then we talk about Persia as well. Iran is one of the largest producer of saffron. 85% of the saffron comes from there. But there are three stigmas, on the flower, right? So they
Is it
pick it in the
is
morning.
is it a tulip or a crocus, or what is the? It's
Like
like
it looks like a tulip,
it's a
right?
tiny tulip. Yeah.
And then they pick the three stigmas, and the window is in the morning. So 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. It's 1 hour window when you pluck the stigmas, and then you only have like a 20-25 days window when these flower blossoms, and then you like take it out. And then during the day they are all segregating, right? Because the long stigmas goes together, the smaller stigmas go together.
They have to
But
be.
I have to tell this, there is one of the biggest scams of saffron. So people think that they have original saffron, but it's not. It is basically your marigold flower,
Yeah.
what they do is they will take the marigold flower, right, and then with the hand they'll try to make it into a stigma, and then of course it is a fake saffron. It's mixed and it's
Wow.
adulterated well sometimes. So like if you're buying saffron, I always tell people buy it from the reliable source, and then you can tell by looking at it like whether it's a stigma or a real stigma, or it is the
Made
from
up. Now, but marigolds to me, my mind's eye, they're orange, and real saffron is more of a coral, almost leaning
but
towards
marigolds
red.
also like that color as well. Marigolds are different color. There are also some reddish and orangish color as well. There's some are yellowish, and like they're different grades of marigold, different colors of marigold.
Oh,
So
really?
they purposely grow those marigolds, and then they, like it's basically the essence that they put in. So
Wow.
that is by weight. When you say the rarest and the by weight, and because it's so labor intensive, because you have a smaller window, that is the most expensive. But then it's the vanilla. Oh my God, the vanilla pods. This is
Vanilla, yeah.
one of the most expensive spice in the world too,
Yeah.
because the vanilla beans. Like 95% of the vanilla is not vanilla. So whenever you take the pods, they are the beans, sorry, the beans are the most important and the most expensive vanilla. Otherwise, there's another chemical compound called vanillin.
Yep.
So you will find vanillin everywhere. The essence that you put in your breads and everything, and you while
Right.
making cakes, it's all vanillin. It's not original vanilla.
Isn't that made from, I hate to be indelicate, but beaver's ass, like the secretions of a beaver's butt?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Oh, how
I
nice.
thought I had that right. Yep.
Lovely.
I don't know. Do I want Madagascar vanilla or do I want beaver butt? I'm not quite sure.
But there are amazing, like even the vanillas are there's so many different kinds of vanilla. Like the Mexican vanilla is very different from Madagascar. Like I think the Madagascar vanilla is also very complex in terms of the flavor profile, and it's so creamy and such amazing
Right.
to it. And then the third most expensive spice is the green cardamom. So the green cardamom, these are the little pods, the green pods.
Yeah.
I know in America what people generally, I've seen like how they sell it is they will open the pod and they'll sell the seeds of it.
Yeah.
But like once you open it, all the aromas mostly are lost, right? So
Oh,
always I suggest people buy the pods. Like break the. I know it's very convenient to buy the seeds of the green cardamom. I
Right.
always suggest people to buy the green pod. There are two different kind of cardamoms, I would say. There is one is a green cardamom and one is a black cardamom. That is a bigger pod. So
Well,
green cardamom is a cooling spice, aromatic spice, very good for digestion as well. But on the other hand, the black cardamom is a warming spice completely. It's very earthy in nature. So it's a different pod altogether, but they're both cardamom. And the beauty of Mother Nature is the green cardamom grows in the southern part of India, and it's very hot out there, hot and humid, and your body requires a lot of cooling. So
yes.
so that it grows there. On the other hand, the black cardamom is a warming spice. It grows on the foothills of the Himalayan mountains, so up north where it's cold, and your body requires a lot of warming. So like warmth in it.
that's what I always use the whole green cardamom pod if I'm making rice, and I treat it kind of like bay leaves. I put it in to flavor the rice or the dish or the whatever I'm making, and then just fish them out before you eat it. I don't bother with the seed. I don't need the seeds. I just I crack the pot open a little bit and put it in as an aromatic.
Way of doing it as well. You can flavor the oil with that. It because really all this flavors in it. Another way is you can make a powder out of it.
Ah,
Uh,
Oh,
Sprinkle some powder on top of the rice and mix it because it's steaming rice, right? It
yes.
gives amazing aroma into it, and like because the application is you're using it the last minute. Oh my God, it's just like cooling and then aromats in it. Like oh my God, it's unbelievable.
So your main Musaafer is the holding company of Shami and Malik and the family is the Spice Route Company, right? And
Yeah.
did that all come out of the early discussions? How did you three guys meet?
Oh yes, so I was heading a five-star hotel in the southern India, the city called Bangalore. It is
Yep.
also called Silicon Valley of India, and I was working there as a head chef. And then Shami and Mitu were visiting the hotel. They were staying in the hotel. So I came across somebody connected us, our common friends, and they said they were looking for a chef anyways. for the restaurant here in America. So I gave them a chef tasting menu. It was like a 14-course meal, and I remember 12th course they said, "Oh my God, you're like everything is so good. Like we have never tasted food like this. This is the food from India. You took us through the journey, celebrating the entire country. Through these cuisines." So I did like a menu from the topography of the country. We started with the coastal belt, did some like Deccan Plateau, some desert, the dry region, and the Himalayas and the northern plains. So they were really impressed with that. And then they said, "Can you take off today? Let's go out." And then we went out, and they asked me the vision for the Indian cuisine in America. And then I think the vision was similar. And the idea of the 100-day journey was born. So they agreed, and then I thought, like, why not? Like, I think this is the place where I want to work with, and then these are the kind of people I want to work with, and they are like family.
Yeah.
They are such amazing people,
That's
pure
great.
heart. Oh yes, absolutely. We make a very good team.
Yes,
So-
no, I think so. I was sad to leave after our time in Houston with you guys. We took off from hobby, and I was like, oh, crying, saying goodbye. It's just, I felt like, even on that first journey, we'd known each other forever, and we sort of saw eye to eye about so many things, even though, being British and you guys being Indian, there shouldn't be a lot of historical love there for what we did to your beautiful country. But hey, we did invent tonic water, so there's always that. And you mentioned Afzal. He has an incredible, if you're in Houston, you have to go, first of all, check out the bar scene. Their cocktail menus are amazing. They feature things like honey. They have a whole honeybee menu on the cocktail side of things. And the bees are no further than 6 miles from the restaurant.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. So tell the audience about the history of quinine bark and all of that good stuff, and how gin and tonic became synonymous with, the days of the Raj. I hate to bring it up, but yes.
Yeah, so they used to love their gins, right, when the Brits were there, and then it was basically there was an outbreak of malaria in India. There were a lot of mosquitoes, and they realized that there is quinine and in the tonic water that is a mosquito repellent, and this like making combination of gin and tonics. This is how the combination was born in India, and then also they started planting a lot of quinine trees on the hills of Darjeeling. So Darjeeling, let me give you a little idea what Darjeeling is. So Darjeeling is one of the biggest tea cultures, tea states in the entire country, in Assam and Darjeeling. So when I was there in Darjeeling, the Darjeeling tea is, I just love the Darjeeling tea, the morning glory, and they have different different kinds of Darjeeling tea as well.
Sure.
When I was there recently last year, so I found out when I was talking to the local people, they said, "Oh, there are a lot of quinines all around." And then I was drinking this water from a spring, and I found it like first sweet, and I tasted some bitterness at the end. I said, "Oh my God, what's happening?" So now I told the guy, like, I taste something that is different from the regular water. So he said, "Let me take you to the top of the hill." And then they realized that, oh my God, in 1930s, there were a lot of plantation of quinine all over that hill. And, whatever, they used to like cut the trees, remove the bark, and all these barks are all there, right? And when it rains and everything, so it turns into a spring. So there is natural tonic water flowing everywhere. When
Oh,
Wow. I mean, but natural quinine bark is very bitter, right? I think the English had to add sugar like we do to every damn thing, right? But isn't that wild that the bark from the trees would actually go into the soil and now flavor the spring water? That's amazing.
It's crazy. And like how they extract the quinine is also a very interesting process.
Yeah.
They'll plant the tree, then after like 6 to 7 years, when the tree grows, they will cut the tree, right? And they will replant the tree somewhere. And then what happens to this one is they will break it down, and then like it goes back into the waters, and it's just all there decomposed. And then this is how it all like mixed up with this the spring water, and like you taste. So it's crazy.
So it's probably led to, over time, if the people who live there, the groundwater and the water they cook with and drink or whatever contains quinine, it has probably led to less deaths from malaria over time, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. And I think still in the process of discovering, I think people should start doing more research on these places, because I strongly believe this is something that will be a big thing in the future. Imagine there are plantations there, and on top of it, there's quinine in there. It's crazy. But so it'll be like gin and tea, like you never know, right? Like tonic water flavored with tea, like.
Right. Karen's saying vodka's her choice, but happy birthday, by the way, Karen. You can drink vodka and tonic water too. So you see, it's very, very, very versatile. So what are your plans before we wrap up? You are also, you crazy people, you're going to double your pleasure, double your fun, and open in New York this year, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I'm very excited to go to New York. So we open New York in the month of August. When we look at the timelines right now, so are basically looking at 3 concepts out of that place. One is the a la carte restaurant. One is the Afzal's bar, right? That'll be like a speakeasy, and then the chef's. That I'm very excited. It's still under the wraps, the concept and everything. But yes, the chef studio will be on. It'll be like a tasting menu, almost like 15 to 20 courses in a night. Only 24 or 25 people. So it'll be like amazing.
Wow, that is just. But he keeps. I don't know. I think it's your Wi-Fi, but we got your back. It's fine. So that is incredible. Guys, please go find out more about Chef Mayank and Afzal, who the beverage director, and Shami and Mitu, lovely people's business, at musaaferhouston.com. You'll see it going across the bottom. You can rewind the stream. And thanks to Chef Mayank for taking the time, and Ishrat and the whole team. And follow them on Instagram and Facebook and social media. Victoria and Radon do a great job with that whole world. I don't know if you know this, Chef, but our viewers will definitely know that our very special guests have a limerick, an Irish poem format written about them. And of course, I tried to come up with rhymes for Mayank and Musaafer and Istwal. So, and they're all going crazy. Limerick time. Yay. Absolutely. So hold on to your hat. Here's a silly Irish poem about a fabulous Indian chef. So here we go. And a 1, 2, 3. In Houston, this chef of great skill, whose Indian dishes will thrill with his spices and flair, inside Musaafer's lair, both your palate and soul will refill.
Oh, wow. God. Wow.
So there you go. We'll send that to you, and you can print it under print it out, stick it under the mirror before you go out and on the floor, and do your celebrity chef thing in front of all your fans.
I love it. This is amazing.
It's been wonderful, Chef. Thank you. You've been fascinating, and I'm starving hungry.
Too bad he's not easy on the eye too.
Oh no, so ugly.
Sorry about that, mommy of cuties, but I had to lean into his. He is. Won't you agree, ladies? He's kind of camera ready.
Not half.
If you know what I mean. And my husband's on here too. He's watching, so he knows I've got a crush on Chef. So that's okay. All right, my darlings. Okay. Well, we'll see you all of a sudden. We'll see you next Tuesday. And please head over to Musaafer. That's with no T and 2 A's. Musaaferhouston.com. And if you're in HTX, they're on the northwest corner of the Galleria at Westheimer and Sage upstairs. Fabulous, unbelievable. We didn't even touch on the 10,000 square foot interior, which is like 5 holes of a museum. But we maybe can get Mitu or Shami on one day and talk about the interior and do a live tour.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you, Angie. Thank you, Ruth.
Oh, my pleasure.
You bet. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys all of a sudden.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.